Welcome everybody to this portion of our service where we discuss the Torah portion. And Shoftim is so powerful. You know, I subscribe to many newsletters and videos from various organizations in Israel and Jewish organizations here in Canada and the United States, like B'nai B'rith, and they're constantly complaining about how we have to fight anti-Semitism. But their message is very different than the message that we're reading in the Torah. You can't educate people not to hate. I mean, we can try, of course. We have to teach our children not to hate. But it is really a heart issue that only God can change on a global scale. And the Torah gives us the principles by which we need to live. Nobody can touch Israel. Nobody could touch God's people if we're trusting in Him. He always says He will be our covering and He'll be our protection. Do you agree with me? Am I the only one saying this, or am I?
I agree, but it's sometimes hard to live out in our lives. Like when I hear or see about, vandalism of synagogues, etc., it's my instinct is to fight. And I'm not saying I think you can do both.
We can do both, but not take revenge.
No, but that's also yeah.
Vengeance.
But I'm saying the principle of what you say, I agree with that. Ultimately, things like that are much bigger than our ability to change because we're limited by our own selves.
But I don't think we realize that when each of us does something in our lives, we make a choice that is just, that is honorable, that lives that lives with principles that are godly principles, how that reverberates into the world on not only on a physical level but a spiritual one. We are so ignorant about the spiritual nature of things. We can't understand it. And yet I think that it's so much bigger than anything that we can realize. And I think that's what God is trying to show us.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree with. I like also what you said, about the separation of church and state. Like really, the reality is you can't separate any of these things, really. They all function as a whole. How could you separate morality from law? It just doesn't make sense, and it's not at all what the Torah teaches.
Well, the problem was when the church is corrupt. It's a corrupt body.
Right, exactly.
God wants, if you saw all the men who were chosen, either judges or, they all had to be tzaddikim, righteous men. When Moses was told to choose men to lead the other, some would be leaders of 10, some would be leaders of hundreds, some of 1,000. These would be men who they knew followed God. They saw it in their behavior, by their actions. They weren't elected. These are chosen men. Do you agree, Mauricio?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that since yesterday because, that honestly, since the beginning, I would say, the religious system and the executive system, I would say, was separated because, for example, there were the Kohanim, and Moshe was the leader, the political leader, I would say. Okay, but this leader, honestly, he honors God. Okay, that's the difference. Now, in the problem today is the people just erase God,
right,
and just want executive leadership,
right.
And most of this leadership doesn't really fear God,
right.
and that's a problem. So, but as you said, there were 4 different steps, positions that can help to the community to grow, to develop themselves. Okay, so it was very clear the separation of powers, but now just one person wants the whole power, and one person wants to say, oh, no God here. And if there is no God in a person who is a leader, then what can we expect from them? Okay.
Right.
So and honestly, I can see that in for example, Chavez in Venezuela. This was a leader. He said, no more God here. Okay, no more Israel. He died, obviously, but now you can see Venezuela, how is destroyed, how poor is Venezuela today.
Mm-hmm.
And that is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And in Latin America, there's a lot of communism and left-handed parties who doesn't fear God. And now we can see how all these countries are reducing to poverty. Even we are so rich. I mean, we have a lot of resources, but when there is no God's fears there, so it's sad. So I'm agree
Yes.
with that.
And that's creeping into Canada and America right now. We're
Yeah,
seeing,
your leadership, he divorced it, right?
pardon?
Uh,
Yeah,
just
he's getting divorced.
right now, I
Yeah,
mean,
but that's the least of the things that he's done. I mean, honestly, the things that he's introducing, he is at heart a communist, and so is in this United States. These leftist governments are, but it's so corrupt that there's no word that can be, to express what they're doing to our countries, and it's very sad that it's happening. But as long as the people, the mass population, does not acknowledge God, this is the type of leadership that we're going to have. So it's sad, but we are His remnant, and we do have hope in our own lives that we can act in this way, act justly. And I remember Rabbi teaching us that Yeshua was a judge, Kohen, king, and what was the fourth one? And prophet. Is that what you learned as well, Mauricio?
I learned that in the Bible school.
Yeah.
yes, he refers that he not only teach us that Yeshua had these roles, okay? All as a man, we have this role
Right.
in our homes, in our families. We are the leaders, we are the prophets, we are the Navim. And this is very interesting because Navim is not the one who predicts the future.
No.
Oh, the prophet is the one who produce in people teshuvah by the message, because
Right.
God wants that people returns to him. So he says, hey, if you don't do, and then this happened to you. But he's not predicting the end of the world. So,
No. And he wasn't looking to be accepted or to be a diplomat. He told them
no.
exactly to their face who they were. But if you do that today, woof, you get killed. But then they killed all our prophets.
Yeah, and also we are priests.
Yeah. Now this is a good point, Peggy, that you just mentioned. We need to go to the root of the problem. Okay?
Right.
And for that, we just have to start looking what is the things that we have done wrong.
Right.
Okay. So we go in the scriptures that we just read, the parasha. Okay, that we read, that it says, Asher Adonai Elohechem Elohecha noten, which means, okay, sorry, I'm gonna read before. Titen lecha bechol Shearecha asher Adonai Elohechem noten lecha, which is in the judges Shoftim. The judges and officers shall thou make thee in thy gates, which the Lord thy God gives you.
Right.
Okay. No, Elohecha noten. Okay.
Yes.
So now, right now, the judges or the rabbis or the ones that they are in position, they have not been chosen by our Creator, but they have been established by a system which is all based on anybody who can be a rabbi if you just have to go study and follow the process. Now, am I against that? Well, I have to say that the purpose of all this, we need to understand also what is the purpose of all this. Okay, why there was a system of priesthood established by our Creator, and a system where there were a few leading the multitudes, because not everybody had this connection with how they call it, the source of life, which is the Creator, in the sense of that not everybody has this connection to the Creator like we should, and that is the truth. Now, what happens when we
Nobody does, Angel.
Yeah, no. There are people that they have the connection.
We have a connection, but we don't all live as we should.
No, and these people that they were prophets, look what happened to them. That the Creator sent. Remember, if we don't have those that they have been selected by the Creator, we will have selected others. Okay, and there will be in place others leading the entire Israel that they have been not selected by the Creator. Okay. I'm not saying that they are bad. I'm just saying that they were not, because they are not linked to the source.
Well, it's like King Saul, greater King David, but we chose King Saul.
Like Saul and King David is an example. Now,
yeah.
But look at this. What happens then when there are people that they are not selected by the Creator, and they are the ones who are deciding, and they are the ones that are what's simple. What happens when somebody is sent by the Creator that actually it's a prophet who is sending the message? By the way, when a prophet listens to the Creator, he becomes what? He becomes a channeler. So now I'm going to tell you something, okay? It is true what you were talking about before, about we have to be careful with the channelers, but we have to remember that God is spirit, and in order to manifest in this, and in this physical, he needs to manifest it through us, through men, through life, and through men that experience a sort of very good connection through their own life, through their own experience. Those are the people who are going to bring this connection of life, this experience that has been as real, that they have felt real and truth to share with the other people. Now, coming back what I'm saying.
Hold on, I'm not sure I understand, Andra, because Bilam spoke God's words, but he was a false prophet. I mean, he was a prophet, but he went against God. I don't understand what you're saying. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying that in essence, okay, the prophets, they were just messengers. But messengers of what? Of a message. But what is a message? It's an intelligent, or it's a thought, or it's how can I say? It's
well, he speaks to us in different ways, through intuition, through thoughts.
It has a meaning, has an essence in it. Do you have a point? That comes not from the person, the message itself, but it comes from a higher let's call it divine intelligence, divine, in this case, the Creator, or could be the messengers. At the same time, it could be angels, that they have this messenger to transmit it to a servant, or to But let me read what was the purpose of choosing that. Okay, And one, as I tell you, is because of the connection to the source of life, to the essence of the creator. Okay. And the idea of this, it was, first of all, because of the problem was that religion and religious, they would transfer all this through either teachings, writings, because not all, also in that time, not everybody was able to read. Okay, so the purpose of transferring this information, and it was to conserve and to preserve the content, so that it will not be changed, they will not be distorted through the times. But what happens, and we have learned so many times from the rabbi, from Rabbi Percy will tell us that there were so many different versions of so many, especially in the Christian literature. We have so many versions of the Bible. We have so many nowadays. We have so many texts that have been replaced because of their change their ideas or the doctrines to emphasize their thoughts. And so you can see that even though with that, it has been also with the time, it has been distorted. But the purpose was not to fall this text in other people's that they were not connected with the source of the creator, the essence, so that they will not input their own thoughts and change the entire message.
But that happens, Angel, that happens. You started by saying we have to get to the root.
Yes.
No, but that happens in every system on this planet. Not only we see that in the religious system, we see that people change the root.
It's in the religious system, because in the time, remember, religions were controlling the one had power to decide for the people.
Well, that's what
the religion was a tool later on for other countries to use it for gathering power, gathering resources, and control of the masses. Okay. Now, so what happens when now we know what is the root of the problem. Okay. When we don't have people that they are not prepared or they don't have this connection with the creator, then what happens is we create another system that will replace the one that the creator already set up. Okay. And this is human, because but this is a human thing, because we got a clear example was the rebellion against Moshe. What was his name?
Korach.
There is always this tendency, okay, among humanity to take over and to have your own input, and that is the problem. We cannot again, people cannot come over, because there has to be this, as I say, this connection with life, but there has to be a balance in this. These people cannot come here and be unbalanced, in the sense of they have to have a certain knowledge of the creator, and they have to have certain knowledge of what it is to be human too, in order to keep it balanced, or either it will go one side or it will go to the other side,
Yeah. But we can't be worried about the global effect of what you're saying. All we could do is handle it in our own lives. Like every single day I'm bombarded with, try this. This is artificial intelligence. Of course, we're living with artificial intelligence. It's everywhere. It's every time I press on my phone or like on Google and I say, search for this, artificial intelligence is taking over. But at some point, you have to sit back and say, okay, what do I think? What is my choice in all of this? If we constantly give away our power or our control or our thoughts to other things, to what other people are teaching us, and we don't go back to the source, it's going to be very difficult for us.
It is difficult, Peggy, because not all of us, we have developed or grow enough to understand all the allegories stories that we find in the scripture sometimes. Okay, why Yeshua always will talk in parables or in allegory all the time? Because he wanted to talk to the souls of those souls that they were already prepared to receive the message.
Yeah, because in God's word it says, let those who have ears hear, let those who have eyes see. He wants us to dig a little deeper and not to take just things that they're, he wants us to search, to seek for him.
So that is the purpose of talking allegoric. And when we see the scriptures and the Torah, it's full of that.
Yes.
It's all creation.
Exactly.
From
It's pictures.
and everything is allegorical to explain. You cannot start talking to the people about quantum, about how the stars are formed, how in order to a solar system to be created. You cannot start with that, because they will say, well, I don't understand anything. You need to talk allegorical. So simple, and it's the basic. When they give us the basic, the creator gave us the basic in order to start developing ourselves. This knowledge and this. So what we're starting is reconnecting with who truly we are, humans, and connecting with the creator, which we are part of him.
Yes.
Because as his image, and that is what it means to be his image, to love, to be to love others, to care about everything that.
Yeah, well, it's what he says: take care of the orphans, the widow, the children. Have compassion, have mercy, be kind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To love.
Yeah.
I was looking for the word compassion. I'm sorry. To be compassionate, to love, and the other one was to be.
But it's not always easy, especially when we're put in a situation where we need to learn compassion. If we don't have it, because some are naturally more compassionate than others, and he keeps putting us in situations where we have to exercise our will to learn compassion by doing something, even if we don't want to do it, by being kind to someone, even though when we don't want to. I've been living that recently. It's easy to talk about these things. Doing them is a very different thing.
Knowing the magnificence of humanity, when we know how magnificent we are, and how important it is to understand that we are all part of the creator.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. How important it is for each of us to know that we have value. And that is one of the most difficult things for us to learn. We have value.
Yes, but the value is in us because it's the creator is in us.
Exactly. But we don't see it because our flesh is constantly warring against the spirit.
Now, but look at the consequences of not knowing the roots. Now we know the roots, okay? Now, well, let's go the consequences of that. What was the consequences? Listen what we find in the scripture. It says, oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together, just as a hen gathers her brood
chick under her wings.
And you would not have it.
We're not willing.
Not willing. Why? Because once that the prophets that they were set up there were not the ones, the prophets, or the I said Shoftim, the prophets, or they are there. They are representing not the creator system. They are representing their own system. That is the reason why Yeshua was so disliked. Let me, the Jewish authorities, because he was talking about the truth, talking about the system that has been created, okay? That it doesn't evaluate, or it doesn't appreciate everyone, but only those that they follow the system, that they are religious, without any question. You cannot question anything. You cannot disobey anything. You cannot do anything that they tell you. And I'm telling you, know about the Torah, because the Torah, it's there, and it's the Torah, okay, who we took as a guide, I'm talking about their interpretations that they put into it, their own mind and their own thing that they put into it. And this is because of, it's simple, because they talk about when they did this is because they had based on their experience and based on their culture, all these things that they have lived, they will put it into their teachings. Okay, so that's why we see so many. If you see both sides, you have the Sephardim, you have the Ashkenazim. They all have different rules. They have all different thoughts. Oh, for example, just to give you an example, in Passover, you cannot eat. The Ashkenazi will eat a certain way, and then the for Passover and the Sephardim, they were allowed to eat things that the Ashkenazi they don't eat. So you can see the influence and of this
Of
thoughts
interpretations.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. They're interpreting what God is saying instead of actually, because
So now
if
our
you look at
focus.
the Torah as the root, what does the Torah
Yeah.
say about that? The only thing it says at Pesach is to do not eat yeast. So we go
But
over.
that is entirely, it represents what I was trying to say. So now we know the roots. Now we know the problems. Now we saw what happened. Okay, we saw in the case of Yeshua. Now we have to do something about it.
And
The
how do
problem
we
is
do that? How do
the
we
problem-
do something about it, Angel? In
because the
our
people.
lives. How does Angel do something about it? Don't give us the world. How do you do something about it?
No, the people, just simple. As I talk to you, what is the root of the problem? Now it's up to us to change this. But it has
What?
to be all of us.
What are you talking about?
I mean,
That's why it's called talk is
one
cheap.
that you okay. How can I say?
Talk is cheap.
Yeah. When you see something, okay, and you see it, you cannot unsee it anymore. Once that you understand something, you cannot continue.
I know, Angel, you're generalizing. Give me an example.
Let me an example. How many religious Jews?
No, I don't want to hear what they're doing. I want to hear in your life. This is about us. How do we apply it in our lives, each one of us here, and each one listening in? Because there are people listening to what you're saying. And if they can't relate what you're saying to how we, each of us in our own lives, this is what Rabbi taught. Don't give me what the world has to do. What do I do? How do I change my life so that in my family and my friends, my neighbors, they're looking at me as a person who follows the Torah? What's going to make them ask me, why do I do this? Because let me tell you, I fail every single day.
Karen just said, there is a by example, and another thing is by developing the relationship with the Creator, not with the religion. Okay.
But
And
we're just
that
trying to, Angel, we all, you're sort of with, I don't mean to be, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but you're like sort of preaching to the converted. We know that we don't want to be involved in the system. We know that we want to have a relationship with the creator of the universe. So that's a given. But now how do we apply that in each of our own individual lives? Like, how do we live that out? Because we know what the world does, and we know about false religions, and that's very true, and we can say it a million times, and that's good too. But we know that, like, how do I apply something? Like, I'll give you an example. My niece, no, let me finish. Sorry.
Yes.
My niece is living. She's a homosexual. She's living with. She's a lesbian. Okay, very good person, but she's now. And she has a partner, a female partner. Now, how do I live my life with somebody? She is a very good person. She has a very strong sense of right or wrong, but she's doing wrong. All right. So do I go and preach to her? I did tell her that I think what she's doing is wrong, but now how do I live my life with her? Because I don't want to just be preaching, but that's something that's right now in my life. Now, how do I deal with that?
I
That's just an
believe that
example.
everybody has the free will, okay, that the Creator has given us to
So,
each one.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
but we
now-
know that.
But let me talk, Peggy. So this free will, okay, you cannot change people that already have taken their own decision.
No, I know, I understand that,
do-
but how
what
do
we
I
can-
deal with that?
It's our responsibility is to have compassion, to love, and to be an example to others. Okay, you cannot convince people who has decided to lead straight, for other ways that are not based on the principles of our of the scriptures, that the Torah doesn't go against, it goes, but it's their own decision. But not because of that we're gonna hate them.
No.
But we're gonna respect. We're gonna have respect, and they're gonna have. Now the problem is when they try to change everything according to their, because it has to be balanced. You cannot say, okay, I can do whatever I want to. Yes, you can. But when you are affecting the entire, and you are changing the entire thing, now there is a problem here, because you are not being balanced. You are not being. You are just pulling one side, and there is not a balance. Okay, and it has to be respect, because right now what happens in this case when you're talking about that is there is only one side, and only pushing information that their side has to be put on. Like if it was like a dictatorship about people that they have to be like this, like they are teaching that in the school.
Angel, you are not addressing her question. Again, you're postulating. You're preaching to the choir. We understand, but each and every day, each and every one has situations that come up in our life. And I guess we need to be able to speak to each other in that moment. Like if I have a lady upstairs for me, which is happening now, and she's always pouring dirty water onto my balcony, destroying my flowers. Okay, that's a real life situation.
Well, then
What do I do?
Do you communicate with her? Do you
Yes,
tell
I
her
have,
that what she's
yes,
doing? Show your flowers.
yes, I have done absolutely everything I know how to do. And now I
Yeah.
just pray because nothing is working. Nothing.
Okay, so now you can
And
see
I went
that.
up, went up last week to her and I said, please, I want you to help me. I want you to help me understand how I can make you see, how I can, no, how did I word it? How I can show you how this is affecting me. And I said it very quietly and in a way, because I've tried every other way. Then she blamed it on the woman above her, who she says has dogs who pee on the balcony, and she's washing off the pee that comes onto my balcony. I mean, this is an everyday life. So I call the lady up on the 4th floor, who I already confronted, who said to me, she's not doing it anymore, and that this lady is lying. Now, Miriam said the next time it happens, the two of us should go. But you see, we're not looking at fixing the globe. God will fix the globe. We have to look at how the Torah applies in our lives. So when you start to say these things, and I understand because I do it too, but we can't always generalize. We have to help each other in each situation. How are we going to fix this in a way that God is there? God is with.
In this case, just continue with the example. When the people don't want to listen, there is people who has been set up in order to act as a, in this case of authority. So then you have to complain to the police, or you have to complain to the town, and you have to make it more official. Because, and this happens with the creator. When we cannot wait for the creator to do everything for us on time. We are the ones that we have to do it.
Yes.
We have to start with that, with respect and with love, with compassion. We kindly, and then that there is, if there will be always people that don't want to listen. Why? because they are disconnected from the source of life. They are not
Exactly.
living the reality of say, hey, I'm not alone here in this life. I'm not the only person, the most important in this life. My neighbor is important. Their flowers are important for her,
Right.
so they can
Right.
be important for me. You
Right.
know, and that starts like that. When we share consciousness and everything, and every single individual start learning about this, we're gonna start flipping the entire.
Exactly. Like I remember Rabbi used to say, my rights end where your rights begin. We have to respect our neighbor. Hi, Karen. I see a left ear. How you doing? I love the picture that you sent. Did you post it on Facebook when you were all little?
Kathy did that. Yes.
Oh, Kathy did that. That was great to see your family when, yeah. How you been?
Good. Crazy busy this summer. It's been the busiest. Could you push over? I need space.
You want to push him?
I want to close his mouth and push him over. He's got to. I married a quiet guy. Eh? Do you remember?
No.
He used to be quiet.
Yes.
I say, what happened here? I was supposed to be the talker. You were too quiet. Anyway, no, I'm thinking just about all this conversation. It drives me mad. I can't even be in it because it just makes me crazy. Listening to this. If it goes on too long, I'm like, oh, I just walk away. I'm like, I think that most of the conversations that I have with myself, with all these, episodes or with all the examples you're giving, I always think for myself, I think that we should take almost every problem that comes to us like we would a child, because I'm a mom, I think that way. Like when I want to deal with, one of my children's having an issue, or one of my friends, or community drama, or whatever it is, I almost always have to take the advice that a parent would give a child, like calm down before you talk.
Right. Right.
Don't do it in anger. I almost always believe that in the end, the best results come in love and respect. If you could do it without hate, then that just taints the point. Nobody gets the point if you're angry.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
That's why it's better to just walk away than to fight.
Right.
It's better to lead by example is great, but if no one's looking, or whoever it is that's bothering you is not looking, but to go at it with love all the time, or with respect. You don't have to love, but
Compassion.
like respect, and have, like, I loved when you gave the example that you said, help me. That's really important to me, because that's how I would tell a child, like, help me understand why you're angry and you can't communicate properly.
But I have to be honest, Karen, that came after. I mean, this is like the fifth or sixth time that I was confronting her. The last time I was sitting on the balcony with having a nice cup of coffee, looking at the beautiful flowers that Miriam bought me for my birthday, and all of a sudden the water came pouring down, not only on me, on my coffee, on my table. I became like a banshee. I started shrieking. I was screaming, "How do you do this? How could I was not calm. I think the woman was so scared. I went upstairs then to knock on the door, and I was angry. She wouldn't open the door. So this time I had to come with another way, but it took me courage. Calm down, muster up the courage to go and talk to her like a human being and find out what was going on. Why did she keep doing this? There has to be another perspective. And then when the lady upstairs says, no, she's lying. It's not true. I haven't put the dogs out in ages. And you came up, you saw my balcony was dry. So now I'm dealing with someone who is lying. I mean, I don't know what to do next, but maybe Ronja's right.
Well,
Maybe.
what I do, Peggy, is first take some picture or a video.
Okay.
Then meet both ladies, okay? Because if you go just to one and to the other, then we say, oh, that's the other one. That's the other
what
one.
I said yesterday.
So
Peggy. Meet them
you
both.
say, okay, I'm gonna give you a coffee from El Salvador, And then you gather together, and you say, okay, look, this is the problem I have. I don't know if in the 5th floor or 7th floor, I don't know, but this is
So we only have 4 floors.
okay. So the point is, I have this problem, and you show them.
Yes.
I honestly, and you have to say that I don't care who is the responsible, because I'm not looking to say you are. No,
Right.
it's about to solve the problem I have.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So and then let them talk, and they can give you the solution.
Solutions.
Yeah. And if they don't want to hear, okay, it's good. Then I have to go. I believe that in Canada you have condominium laws, and so
Yeah.
if not so, you can go to the mayor office to say, okay, I have this problem. I
Right.
talked to both ladies, and it's not already
Resolved.
resolved. So tell me what do I
What
have
to
to
do. Right. Okay.
So,
That's fair.
And I was also thinking about Miriam's conversation before about the relationship she has with her niece, is it?
Yeah.
And I have that same problem right now, actually, that's really hard to see past. I'm going through where I have a friend whose ex-partner is now a woman, and our kids are friends, and just being around that and the whole garbage, it's really hard not to get like boiled up a little bit about it when you're around it, like, right? So I can imagine what you're going through. And I've also had a lot of friends through that where you feel like I think that you did all that you could, which was to give your opinion, and you could do all kinds of things, but if they're not open to it, I also believe that there's almost always a worst. I know that you've heard, like, oh, there's no sin worse than another. I'm not done. I'm not done.
I know I'm not done. I just said I would like. I'm used to this all the time. When he needs to talk, I have to.
Yeah. So my point was, when I was living in Montreal, I had the same kind of an issue with a really good friend who changed over, and weight gain. And, I had a lot of thoughts about it. It was kind of consuming me. It was really affecting my daily life. I was so upset. And, I found out just 2 doors down, or actually, no, it was the next door neighbor, was a pedophile. This guy that I had totally loved. Like, he was so cool. I'd met him a few times, and he was really nice. And here he was, these people here are living with their sin on their arms, very obvious. But these other people, this other guy had, this evil about him and this sin that was hidden, and he looked nice, and it looked like he was living a good life. So I just feel like when it comes to an aspect of their life and saying, like, she's super nice, but she has this, I kind of feel like we all have something.
Yes.
That we can kind of relate to, where we're like, we could do without that too. I don't know if that made any sense, but I do.
We could, what was your last sentence? We could, what without that?
We can relate to having an aspect of our own lives that's, that we can do without, is what I meant.
Of course.
I don't feel like it should bother you more. You've already done enough.
Yeah, I see your point. I guess, like, I'm still locked in maybe to the hierarchy of sins. But I guess if they were evil people, they are both moral, giving, loving people. And I've already told them, I told my niece, and I said, if you ever want to talk about it, she hasn't wanted to. She's made her commitment to this. Well, they're living together. So.
But what also makes it difficult is that most of the world says, what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with that. If they love each other, it's fine. And if you speak up and you say something that this is not what God would want, but without God, anything goes.
Exactly.
Everything is okay.
And if they don't have that basis to their life, so what? What's the difference? They love.
What's the difference? Exactly.
I would like to say something that I learned and it was really, really, really nice. Imagine that we are in this situation, that you are the lighthouse. Okay, we are the ones who are emitting this light for any ship that in the dark where they are, they want to see this light. Some of them, they will see it and they will go around so that it won't crash, you know. Now, but it's up to the ships to decide, you know, whether to follow the light or not to follow the light. So we cannot asking them to become the light, because they are just ships right now, and they just need and require this light in order to be guided in darkness. There are other ones that they won't not follow this light. They will completely ignore this light. And obviously, well, the consequences will be that either they will, you know, later on cross to the coast, or they will, you know, whatever it is. But the purpose of us is us, we are this light. So we need to speak about all these issues, that this is not right, and this is you cannot change them, but you can tell them what we believe and what we think.
That was my point, hon.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, for this case of the lesbian lady, it's hard because you are the aunt, right? So but you know, first, many of these people want to show them up just to say, hey, I'm exist, okay, I'm here, okay, and the behavior is easy to do something very apparently wrong, okay, just to say, hey, please, I need help, I need love, I need, I don't know, help, whatever. So the first thing is, if she never tells you I'm lesbian, I'm doing this, or to have this conversation, then you don't have to approach to her to say, hey, you are doing something wrong. Okay, that's the very first. You have to help people who wants to be helped. Okay, because if not, then you know, there is a rule for the person who are saving person in the ocean. They are going, and the very first thing is that they enter to save this person when they are really exhausted, because if not, when they try to help, they will be punched, and then there will be two victims. Okay, so it is the very same here. Okay, if she's with a relationship, whatever she has, okay, then you let her. Okay, if she approached to you and say, hey, I need some help, then you can start to talk to her. Okay, then, because also this happens, okay, if she shows some expression of love before you, and you are disgusted with that, for example, to me, is something that I don't want to see.
Right.
Okay, then you have the right to say, okay, we are a family, and I love you, you know, that I love you, I can help you, I can hug you, whatever, but please do not do this to me. This affects to me, and I don't want to have a bad relation with you.
Or do you
So,
just walk away?
yeah, and no, you know, you have to put limits.
Right.
Okay, if and then if she does not accept your limits, then okay, your limit will be far. Okay, and she said, no, it's okay, sorry, that won't happen again, then it's okay, you can be at the table with her, or no. And finally, third is, if there is a gay pride that they say, also I have a heterosexual pride. Okay, so
Right.
God made me with a couple, and I'm happy with that, and I have to show them I'm happy. So it's not about doing something against these people. Okay, if you are proud of that, okay, it's okay.
Yeah,
But
like they just had a pride parade here in Montreal, a big parade. Don't
yeah,
go,
so,
don't go.
and that's
But
it. Eh,
their pride has become a dictatorship.
The
That
pride
means
yeah,
that is
become a dictatorship, exactly.
that is the problem. The problem is the same always and always. Is the one you give them a hand and they take everything.
Yeah,
And they
yeah, they want that you think like them,
right.
no. The
and they
problem
want
is
everybody is
But that's different though, when it's personal. Like I personally, maybe it's just cowardice, but I've told her what I feel. I've told my brother, who's his daughter. They know what I believe, but I don't believe that. For example, when I go to a party and they're there, and I haven't seen much, but at one point I may catch them. He just not kissing passionately, but just affectionate. I don't feel I have the right to tell her not to do it to me. I have the right to go away or whatever, but I don't believe I have the right to ask her that. I have the right.
But it's going to get more complicated even because now both of them want to have, hold on, Angel. Well, hold on, Angel. Because now they're both of them have announced that both want to have a child. So they're both going to become pregnant. So now the next thing that happens, you're going to have two pregnant women and they're going to have babies. Do you go and you bring gifts when the baby has a shower?
That's
You know, these things are going to come up. What do we do?
yeah,
and what I'm trying to tell myself is that the baby has a right to be
Babies are innocent.
like their
yeah, babies
innocent
are
has a right
innocent.
to be treated like any other baby. But am I being a hypocrite by, I'm going to see this cute baby and I'm going to love the baby because I do love my niece, and I even
yes, that is the thing. This is the thing that we don't. Sometimes religious people or people who don't want to, they only want to see their own point of view. But the thing is, everyone has the right to exercise his own free will.
Right.
The problem is that when one of the parties don't respect the other side, or it says, okay, I want to do whatever I want to do, even if I offend you, I don't care because I'm pride, gay, and I don't care about you, that is wrong. The real people who are really like, it's their choice. They want to learn through that path. I'm not saying that this path right now, this path is possible because it put, as you say, they can get pregnant. But in old times, this was not the case. Women with a women will never co-create and will never have babies, So that is the thing. So now our conscious also has advanced more, and we have a different human conscious right now that are more, but the
I don't know how
purpose,
advanced more it is.
free will has to be respected, but we cannot start killing everyone, like because they are not following our
so
thing.
what I'm asking though is how do I think I know the answer, but how do I treat the joy that they're going to have when each one are pregnant with a child? Do I just say, wow, wonderful? They know I'm against that sort of thing, but how much do I continue? Because it's a joyful thing that they're both going to have a child, especially.
Okay, Miriam, I just came to my mind. It's like what you said at the beginning. You may be more influenced. In the church, we learned, there are different levels of sin, and usually the sexual sins, the venial sins, were always made to be the worst. Let's say you go to your brother's house and there's a couple who are invited, and both of them are thieves. And both of them decide, because they're thieves, they're going to take something. They're going to take something from your brother's home. And then you go to their home and you see what they took from your brother's home in their home. How would you react?
I would go up to them and right away and take the gift back.
Exactly. Is that sin any different than this one?
But how do you apply that?
Exactly. That's what we have to look at. How would we apply, make equal ruling in both situations, because one is a thief and the other one is a homosexual. Now, for us, it's not that the people are wrong, it's what they've chosen that goes against what God says. The world could look at us and say you're all nuts because it's okay. If you're in a culture of thieves, like we've learned in history that there were a group called the Gypsies who, to them, thieving was very normal. In certain cultures, lying is very normal. It's like everybody does it, so it's accepted. But what we have to do is learn to get outside the level of the culture and deal with all these things on the same level, because they're all the same. It's not the person, but it's what they're doing. And that's how we have to separate it. I don't like what you're doing. I like you, but I don't like this behavior. So that's what we have to learn how to do.
I guess I have to know, how often do I have to do that? They know what I feel. Like my challenge to me, my own integrity, like
But you could choose, if you're standing there, as you said, if you're standing there, if I see two women or two men in a movie that I'm watching, I immediately turn it off. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, no, right.
A choice.
But I can't. First of all, they haven't done anything like that, really. You know, I haven't seen anything blatantly. But I mean, I don't have to look. Like they have. I don't have to look. I don't believe I have the right to go up to them and say, "Don't do that."
Because they're not in your home.
They're not in my
Somebody else's home.
No, I believe that the respect is very important in this situation. And I believe that if the person who you are or your family relative, if he truly loves you, they will do something about it. They will care and they will show you. They will say, okay, she doesn't like that.
They don't understand, hon. They don't understand it like that.
But that is the problem. If they don't understand, that means that no matter what you do, no matter what you tell them, it will go through here and will come out through here.
But
So
not
you
only
can see
that.
This is what I'm talking about the connection with life, of the creation of life, with the creation with the.
Hold on, Mauricio says he has to go. Thank you, Mauricio.
Thank you, Mauricio.
Bye.
Bye.
But I guess Miriam, if they're in your home, it's different. You're in your brother's home generally when you see them, and they all are in agreement with it. So you're the lone ranger. You're alone in all that.
Yeah.
So really, you don't have a right in their home to say anything. But if it gets bad enough, what you do have a right to say, I can leave this room, or you can even leave the house. It depends on how bad it is.
Yeah, I just want to be true to the Creator. I don't want to do it, any action, because I feel, okay, I did it, good for me. I have the courage to do it.
Right. But if no one, it's like Mauricio said, and I know, if people are not asking for advice, don't give it. They're not going to accept it. They're not open.
They're not. And
they're
not crude people. They wouldn't have a necking session in my house, but she might take her hand. But I'm not going to. My choice is not to say anything. I've told them what I feel.
Exactly.
They're not doing anything to hurt me. They're both very gracious and very. So, I have to weigh, what does God want from me?
Yeah.
And
we pray for them.
How can you?
Yeah.
How can you tell someone who's committing actions, immorality actions, no, or which goes?
It's not always only immorality, Angel. It isn't always just immorality. Sometimes it's direct disobedience to what it says in God's word.
Yes. Okay. Against the Torah, against what it's
right.
The principles of.
Right.
You interrupted. I don't remember what I wanted to say, but
sorry.
I don't just lost it. I'm sorry. Apologize.
Well, we're almost at the end of our time. I know this will be definitely a little more controversial, and yes,
I remember now. So how can you convince a robber that what he's doing of rubbing things, it's wrong. You know, it has to come from within him.
Well,
And it
he's
has to
going to get
experience.
arrested and put in jail. Then he'll know what he's doing is wrong.
That is the way in society. That's what happened. You rob, you get caught by the police, you get put in prison.
Right.
But what if he robbed someone, and then in the same time, same day, or within the same day, there is another one who comes into his house and robs everything that he has still, and more.
Mm-hmm.
Will that person learn a lesson? Will that say, okay, well, there is something that is going on here? There is a kind of in other words, that sometimes this person or this individual needs to learn, and it takes some time in order to accept and to see and clearly the reality. You know, we don't know if, for example, later on, you know, the children, they will be straight. You know, they won't have nothing to do, and they won't have nothing to do to have with their parents that they are this way, because their soul is different. They have you know, they are
exactly. That may happen. It's true, because that's why it says unto the third and fourth generation.
What if that will at the end maybe change a little bit your relative way of thinking about, well, I must be doing something wrong, because if I'm having children that they are my own children, and they are teaching me something that, you know, I don't know, I'm just talking. But,
it's possible. You're very right.
You know, that there is ways of learning, and it's up to the individual. It's up to the person, you know, because they are the own that they were their own decisions, you know, to do these things. Most of them, they are brainwashed right now, you know, with all the videos and all the information. Even the government behind is supporting this, you know.
Of course,
you know,
exactly. The society in large.
It's incredible. It's just too much pressure in kids.
Yeah.
Underage kids.
Yes, absolutely. It's very true. Now, I'm going to ask you because this is recorded and this is posted on YouTube. I want your agreement to be able to post it. If not, then it's just for us here. I just need to know, because, you know, we talk about real life situations that many people encounter, and it's up to us to be. Pardon?
Yeah, YouTube. While YouTube, you know, it could decide that you are not talking. You know, they have different policies and stuff. You know, it could. So.
Miriam, I can't hear you.
The only thing I'm just thinking now that you mentioned that, it would be like a gamble, but I even if Zoe were to see, I'm using her name now.
Exactly, you just used her name.
I just dropped it by mistake.
Well, and I'm talking about my neighbors upstairs. You see, my desire is that because we need to teach as a community, we reach out to others. But if you're not comfortable, then I definitely will not post it. So, you know, I can put it just on our website, and anybody who's looking can put it on our website, but I won't publicly post it.
Yeah, I just realized this time, although I haven't said anything that she knows I'm against this. So
exactly.
It's terrible if she saw it.
Yeah.
I don't know why she'd be looking anyway. But well, no, I'm okay with it.
All right. Anyway, I want to wish you all a very wonderful rest of Shabbat. Isabel, you're very quiet. I guess it's difficult also for you because English is not your first language. So
yes,
it makes
okay.
it more difficult. Etid, it was nice to not see you today. I see your name. And Patricia, also, I don't see you, but I hope you're doing well, you and your beautiful family. Mildred, take care of yourself and have a wonderful week. And everybody, please keep Brian in prayer. He had his biopsy yesterday, the bone marrow biopsy. So it's gonna take a couple of weeks, and then we will decide what the next step is, and whether he can even stay in residence where he is right now. But let's keep this community, all of us and our families, and the struggles that each of us go through on a daily basis, because it certainly is not easy to be Shomer Torah. It's one thing to have a religion, it's another thing to live the Torah, and we can only do it with the help of our God. So have a wonderful rest of the day, a beautiful week, and we'll see you, God willing, next week.
Okay. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.